Welcome to yet another edition of the Stats and Stacks podcast, where today we're going over UFC Paris Moicano versus Saint-Denis. First things first, make sure you smash that subscribe. Give a follow over on Twitter, over on Instagram, over on TikTok, wherever there's social media. There's a Stats and Stacks podcast. There's no event to review from last week because it was break week. We have a few weeks in a row of UFC action, which we love. I am lost without UFC. Luckily, NFL was on for entertainment purposes. Betting wise, I got absolutely crushed. So it is what it is. You're on to the next one, and thank God we're here with UFC Dana White Contender Series today. We'll see how that works out. Otherwise, let's just go ahead and jump into this live event. Don't forget that it is on noon Eastern, so it's a early one, especially for the West Coast peeps. Make sure you're up bright and early, making money. So we're gonna go ahead, and I am itching to get into some UFC talk. It's been 1 week is too long for me, so we're going to go ahead and jump into the very first fight of the night. We're looking at Balaji Oki at minus 205 going up against Chris Duncan at plus 170. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 is plus money at plus 110. Under 2.5 is minus 145. Let's start with who would be the hometown guy in this instance in Balaji Oki. He's coming off of Dana White Contender Series. I think this is his second fight in the UFC. I think he's already had one. I know he fought Timothy Kawamba. I think that was his only UFC actual fight. Yeah. So this is his second UFC outing. He's 28 years old from Belgium, which is basically France. So this will be the hometown guy here. He's sporting a nice 9-1 record. He's going to have an inch and a half reach advantage, and that's good for him because he is predominantly a striker. It's not the cleanest in the world, but he does carry a ton of power. And that's where he likes to be. I mean, he's rocking an 83% takedown defense in his first two fights under the Zuffa promotion. He needs to keep it on the feet, probably because his jiu-jitsu is questionable. It's not very good at all. He loves to move forward, but his volume's a little lower just because he likes to counter. Like always, counter strikers don't have the most volume in the world. He'll throw a few feelers out there if he's going offensively first. Otherwise, all his power shots are straight counters. And it's just weird as the pressure fighter that counters. We saw it in Contender Series last week with Tao and his face tats. He was marching forward, but he wasn't swinging. He was just throwing a lot of hesitations and waiting for you to throw so that he can counter you. And sometimes you can fall behind on the strike count doing that. And I do see that being a future problem for Oki. He's also been chin checked. I've seen him rocked multiple times on the regional scene. His cardio for a big power puncher does hold up. He's not like the world's greatest gas tank, but he can go a hard 15. Yeah, man, I'm not really that impressed with Oki. You have to give him a lower level of competition in order for him to get a win, or someone that just doesn't really have a chin since he hits so hard. That's kind of what they did here with Chris Duncan. Chris Duncan is ever improving. Coming out of Scotland, he's 31 years old, 11-2 career record. His striking's okay. I'd say it's pretty much a wash in the striking department. His jiu-jitsu's not great, to be honest with you. He's a half decent wrestler since moving over to ATT. He switched camps and has been training with ATT basically since he's been in the UFC now. But it's not like it's been a long time. This is only like his third or fourth fight in the promotion. His cardio's okay. He can go a hard 15 minutes. He does have good game plans though. He when he's at a clear striking disadvantage, he did go out or sorry, not even a clear striking disadvantage. When you're talking about like the uh what is his fight with Omar Morales? He went out there and grappled a ton. You think about the Charlie, or sorry, when you think about Omar Morales fight, he wrestled a ton because Omar is terrible, terrible, terrible takedown defense. You know, as Moose doesn't have good takedown defense, so he took him down. He struck with Charlie Campbell, who hits a little chinny. So all in all, he usually comes out with good game plans. He's a generalist with kind of suspect jujitsu. He has a ton of power himself. If he hits you, you can go out. Problem with Duncan is that he's chinny. Manuel Torres, it was a club and sub. His win on the Contender Series is that legendary comeback where he was on skates, had no idea where he was, and just instinctively threw an overhand right, and it happened to put out Charlie Campbell as he was almost knocked out. And that was his second stint on the Contender Series. His first time on Contender Series, he got knocked out by Slava Claus. So again, he was just predominantly a striker. He went over to ATT, and now he blends in his wrestling and his striking, contingent on his opponent. Here, he should probably wrestle. He should probably not just go out and strike with a striker. However, this is in front of a crowd, and he talked about in that Omar Morales fight how he was so disappointed going to a wrestling approach in front of a crowd. He didn't like that. So if he goes out here and tries to scrap, I think it's 50-50 on the feet, but Duncan's chin is worse. So it does scare me. I do understand why Oki's the favorite. Will I ever bet him at minus 205? Fuck no. He is not a good fighter whatsoever. But I do think the UFC is trying to cater to the hometown crowd, especially the first fight of the night. Give the power puncher a chinny fighter. So although I don't like Oki, the pick is going to be Oki. The bet would be Oki, but not a lot of confidence there. Next fight of the night. We have short notice replacement Jacqueline Calvacanti at minus 200 going up against actual hometown girl and Nora Carnoli at plus 165. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 375. Under 2.5 at plus 265. Let's start with the first French fighter of the night and Nora Cornoli. Definitely going to have the crowd behind her. Like Belgium is basically France. Nora Cornoli is actually from France. She's 34 years old and she's a striker. She has pretty decent striking on her, has pretty decent power. And that's where the compliments stop. I mean, she has 50% takedown defense. Her jiu-jitsu is god awful. She kind of reminds me of 135-pound Priscilla Cachoeira. She kind of looks like her in this picture. Yeah, she's just a 10-pound heavier Cachoeira. She's not particularly overly technical. She has better striking defense. Cachoeira had the worst striking defense I've ever seen. So she's Cachoeira with 10 pounds heavier and better striking defense. But the jiu-jitsu is non-existent. The wrestling's non-existent. Her level of competition's terrible. She's fought two decent girls in well, it's three. She's fought three decent girls. Melissa Mullins went out there and was winning the fight, and then she got caught. And Melissa Mullins is known to have a bad chin, so she cracked the chinny fighter. It is what it is. Jocelyn Edwards, that was a robbery. I had money on Cornoli, and Jocelyn is predominantly a striker. So I thought maybe she can just kind of outpace the fellow striker in France and get some hometown cooking. Jocelyn put on her singlet, took down Cornoli, and that is a terrible, terrible look. Jocelyn is known for having bad wrestling. So getting taken down multiple times by Cornoli or by Jocelyn is bad. She should have lost that fight, but she ultimately got a unanimous decision because it was in France, just like this one. And then the only other decent fighter she's fought is her very first career fight against Jacqueline Calvacanti, her opponent this week. This is a rematch that nobody asked for. The only person asking for this fight is Jacqueline Calvacanti because she is stepping in on short notice. Nora Canoli was initially slated to fight Jermaine Durandamy and she would have died. But now they're giving her Calvacanti, who already has a win over her. Calvacanti jumped in real quick for this matchup. I believe her last fight was at 25. So she will be going up a weight class. Be cognizant of that. But obviously, if you're taking a fight on short notice, you're confident, and her confidence has to be sky high since she already dominated Cornoli about 4 years ago. She's 27 years old. She throws a ton of volume. She has a 3-inch reach advantage. She's predominantly a striker too, but she just throws a lot more than Cornoli does. She has a lot better cardio than Cornoli. She has no power whatsoever, so that's not good. But she just beats you based on volume. She'll go out there and she'll land 120 significant strikes and not break a sweat. Like she has very, very good cardio, very, very high volume. Cornoli is not going to take her down. Cornoli is not going to submit her. So this is just a striker versus striker matchup. You have one girl with a ton of power that's a little hittable. You have another girl that has a ton of volume and a chin on her. I've seen her cracked a few times, and she just ate it by some power punchers. I mean, she beat the She beat Zara Farron, who hits decently hard. Josiana Nunez, all she can do is hit hard. That was not a split decision. That was weird. And she got cracked a few times, and she was perfectly fine. So yeah, at the end of the day, you're looking at two strikers, and one of them throws twice as much as the other. Although Cornoli's in France and has already had some home cooking, I don't think she's going to get it again. I think Cavalcanti's taking this fight, taking this rematch willingly because she thought it was so easy the first time. So the pick is going to be Cavalcanti, the bet's going to be Cavalcanti, and we're going to have history repeat itself. I'll probably have money on her. Next fight of the night, we have a line move happening. We have Daniel Perez at minus 102 going up against Victor Altamirano at minus 118. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 325. Under 2.5 at plus 230. Let's start with Daniel Perez. He's one of these guys that I like for absolutely no reason. And as I did some geography research for this fight night, I didn't realize how close Spain was to France. So if there's anyone the crowd is cheering for, it's most likely Daniel. He may have a hometown advantage here, which is going to be nice. Knock on him is that he's 35 years old. That's not good, especially at flyweight. There's that's usually a death sentence being that light or that old in this low weight class. But skill for skill, this dude is a very good striker. He's a very good wrestler. He's a very good jujitsu practitioner. He has 91% takedown defense. He has like an 80% clip in regards to finishing fights. Again, may have the hometown crowd behind him. Looks good optically moving forward. 91% takedown defense, so he can dictate where the fight is going to be. Like, there's not a negative on this guy outside of his age. And the fact that he does have a propensity to slow down in his fights. Don't get me wrong, he doesn't gas out by any means, but first round Daniel and third round Daniel is not the same guy. But I mean, he's never been finished. Like, he's never been knocked out. He's been submitted. But Rafael Falo is a motherfucker. Otherwise, again, that was a submission round one. He didn't get knocked out. Yeah, he's never been knocked out. He fought good guys. He fought Manel Kopp uh, on the regional scene. He's just a vet, man. A ton of wins here, and even his contender series fight that he lost, it was a split decision and one that I thought he won. I thought he won that fight. The judges did not, and then he went on to get first round finish, first round finish, first round finish, first round finish, and then is now got called up to the big league. So yeah, the fact that this over under is sitting at plus 230 is insane to me, considering Barres finishes almost every single one of his fights. Now it's not going to be easy against Victor Altamirano, who is also a contender series alum. Victor Altamirano is 33 years old. He's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage in this matchup. He has pretty decent striking and a good gas tank on him. I think the best quality of Victor is his gas tank. He has good IQ. We saw him in his last fight get absolutely screwed by the judges in Mexico against Felipe Dos Anjos, but he went out there and got 10 or nine takedowns against Felipe Dos Santos because he knew that Felipe had bad takedown defense. Victor's not a wrestler, but he went out there and sure did wrestle against Felipe. Vinicius Salvador is known for having bad takedown defense. He utilized wrestling in that matchup. Tim Elliott, he did everything he could not to wrestle and to stay on the feet because Tim's weak spot is his stand up. Like, he does everything he's supposed to do. I like how good of a game planner he is. It's just Daniel's good everywhere. So what do you do? I mean, all you can do is really try to take advantage of the cardio edge. And when Victor gets taken down, he does play jujitsu off his back because they have a lot of urgency to get up. And that's not good having a 63% takedown defense. Daniel likes to be exciting. Daniel likes to strike. But he has great timing on his double legs, and he will take you down. And if Victor wants to play guard down there, Daniel's a better jiu-jitsu practitioner. If he wants to strike, it's pretty 50-50, but Daniel hits harder, so you'll be looking at volume versus power, quantity versus quality. And then in regards to the wrestling, is Daniel all day, not even close. So Daniel's the better It's 50-50 on the feet. Daniel's better on the ground. Daniel's the better wrestler, and Daniel's the dog. So at the end of the day, I'm going to ignore the fact that he's 35. And Daniel has the judges on his side, possibly, if he gets the crowd behind him. So the pick is going to be Daniel. The bet's going to be Daniel. But I'm also staring at this under 2.5. I know that Victor's never been finished, but Victor's no spring chicken. He's 33 years old. He's not super young. He's only 2 years younger than Daniel. And I've seen him hurt before. We saw him hurt in the Benicio Salvador fight. We saw him hurt in the Daniel Lacerda fight. It's not like he's incapable of going out, although he's never been finished. It's been very close. And they have a common opponent in Carlos Hernandez. They both lost splits to Carlos Hernandez. Uh, those I thought Carlos won. And he also has a split against in Contender Series. He had a split against Carlos Candelaria. So he goes to split quite a bit, just solely. He has a split here on the regional scene. He just throws a lot of volume, just no power. Like it, and it's contingent on what judge and what they're looking at. So I could definitely see this going to a split decision. Both of them have a propensity to go to decision or go to split if it does go to decision. Mainly because Daniel is going to win round one. Round two, he's going to start the slowdown, and then he's going to lose round three. So you're really looking at round two. Whoever wins that round wins the fight, or Daniel can just go out there and kill you. So again, I'm staring at the under. I'm staring at a split. I just need to see what those odds are. But if I'm betting straight up, I'm going to pick Daniel Barres. I'm going to bet Daniel Barres. Next fight of the night is one that I keep going back and forth on. Pick your poison. It's sheer grappler versus striker. We have Eileen Perez at minus 240 going up against Daria. God bless me. Zelenzenyakova. I know it's Daria. And Daria's plus 195. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 255. Under 2.5 at plus 210. That's another one where I might flirt with that under at those odds. A lot of it because of Daria. Daria's a very good striker. She's someone who impressed me with their regional tape. Has a ton of power. 28 years old. She's 9-1. Very, very good, crisp, clean striking, and knows how to use it. There's a ton of volume with a ton of power. Loved everything I saw on the feet. Takedown defense concerns me. She got taken down 3 times by Montserrat Randone, and it wasn't particularly close. Not it wasn't a good look. She kept getting body locked. Randone is a god awful wrestler. She's a good jiu-jitsu practitioner, terrible wrestler, and she body locked Daria at ease. 50% takedown defense in that fight is not good. Her cardio's okay. She slowed down a little bit, but she was still throwing even the last few seconds there. I don't like her optics. She has very bad optics because she's very, very pale skin and she's a bleeder. So it's just the physical damage. She was beating the hell out of Randone on the feet, but the few times she got hit, she just swelled up and had blood, and she was red because of how white her skin is. So it's nothing on her, and she's not even that hurt. It's just optically, it doesn't look great when your face looks beat up. I also don't like that she doesn't celebrate after close rounds. Like there were a few close rounds with Rendon. And Rendon was walking back, holding her hands in the sky, and she just kind of and Daria pulled the Jan Blachowicz where she just walked away. And sometimes raising your hand convinces the judges. So I wasn't a fan of that. But I am very, very, very impressed with her striking. She's one of the best female strikers I've seen. Kind of like a Manon Fiorot. She gives me a lot of Fiorot vibes, where they are very, very good strikers, just head and shoulders above other girls in their weight class. On the other side, we have a complete stylistic clash because Eileen is a wrestler. Her nickname is self-proclaimed Nurmagomedov. She's 29 years old. Very good wrestling. In fact, has like 18 takedowns in 3 UFC fights or something like that. Her 4 UFC fights, she has like 18 takedowns. Like she has 10 over Ashley Evans Smith. She has 6 in her last fight over Jocelyn Edwards. She's a takedown machine. But she can strike, man. She's not a terrible striker by any means, especially in this weight class. She's a pretty decent striker, and she hits decently hard. All her regional scene tape is her striking, not wrestling. And then she got to the UFC, started training at Goat Shed, realized she was a good wrestler, and has been sticking to it. And she's good at it. Yeah, she doesn't have a ton of volume. I don't like that in her striking, but part of that is also because she's wrestling so much. Her volume's kind of taking a hit for it. Um, I don't know, man. I think she's a good fighter. It's just her cardio's god awful. And that's a problem in this weight class. There's not a lot of girls that gas out at 135, and she is one that does. So that's very concerning. She can also get backed up a little bit, and when she's on top, she's more of a position over submission girl. Um, the judges don't always like that. She should transition. She should go for more subs. She should land a little more ground and pound, not just like the one where I forgot what fight it was. It might have been Ashley Evans Smith where she was like humping her. She does have an OnlyFans, and she twerks a lot, and she again was humping another girl in a fight. Like she's very interesting. But at the end of the day, after all the antics that she does, she is a good wrestler, and that's the best base you can have in MMA. So I'm very impressed with Daria's striking. I'm very impressed with Eileen's wrestling, and it really comes down to where is this fight taking place. I'll lean with Eileen. I do usually prefer the grappler over the striker. And Eileen's not a fish out of water on the feet. My concern are these odds, though. Daria at almost plus 200. She has a ton of knockouts for women's MMA. And Eileen has been rocked before. Eileen does gas out. I can see Eileen taking her down multiple times, and then ultimately uh, just getting tired and then getting KO'd in the third round. I could see that. I could also see a world where Eileen actually grounds and pounds, because Daria's only loss was to Melissa Mullins, who we talked about earlier, against Nora Cornoli. And it was by ground and pound. She took her down and she ground and pounded her and finished her. I could see Eileen doing that if she actually lets her hands go for one. So I don't trust this over. I don't trust Eileen, but those are the two ways I would lean. The pick's gonna be Eileen. I want to bet Daria. I just can't get there yet. The bet's gonna be Eileen. But make sure you watch weigh-ins. Eileen has struggled in making weight before, so if she looks shitty at weigh-ins or she misses weight, I might flip to Daria plus 200. I'm just really waiting on weigh-ins for this one. Next fight of the night is the one that I've been looking forward to the most. I have one of my new favorite fighters, Taylor Lapillus, minus 355, going up against Vince Morales at plus 280. Over 2.5 is minus 325. Under 2.5 at plus 230. I can't wait anymore. Let's talk about my guy, Taylor Lapillus. First and foremost, sick name because that's my last name, Taylor. So already a good start. We got Taylor being 32 years old, which is in his prime. One of the best fighters in France, and the fight card is in France. So he'll have the crowd and the judges behind him. He has a 3-inch reach advantage here. World class striking, very, very, very good striker. Jiu-jitsu's okay. It's not good. It's not bad. It's okay. Has fought a great level of competition on the regional and in the UFC. And this is his second stint in the UFC. UFC cut him because they thought he was boring. I'll be honest with you. He just doesn't have power. It's not God. It's something that's God given. He doesn't necessarily have it, but for the love of God, he's trying. He's not trying to just point fight you. He's trying to put you out. He just isn't built that way. But he is built with an 80% takedown defense. So he has okay jujitsu, but it's hard to get him down to the ground anyway. It's a lot of point fighting, a lot of death taxes, and Taylor Lapillus by decision. Usually people don't like that. But he does have a very good get up game. He has very good cardio, and you know what you're getting. There's no second guessing what he's going to do. You know what you're getting out of Taylor Lapillus, and there's a level of comfort in that. And then, most importantly, the last UFC event that I attended live was UFC Kentucky. Taylor Lapillus was there. And after the fights, I went out. Me and my friends went out to a bar, and I actually ran into Taylor Lapillus. I did the unfortunate drunk thing where you're talking about, "Hey, you won me so much money betting you." Like I didn't want to be that guy. Just the Coors Light was telling me otherwise. But he is a really, really, really chill dude. Didn't even really speak English. All he did was keep nodding and saying thank you and shaking hands. Just a very, very respectful, nice guy. Have nothing but respect for the guy. And of course, I'm sober and I'll say it again. He won me a ton of money that night. So Taylor Lapillus has been cashing for me. Taylor Lapillus I have met in person and is pretty genuine. And Taylor Lapillus was just out there trying to get Kentucky pussy. I get it, Taylor. Do your thing. I didn't see any other fighters out. He was out there at bars picking up girls. So Taylor Lapillus is the man. On the other side, we have Vince Morales, who is also in a second stint in the UFC. He's 33 years old. And I talk about Taylor being just like the epitome of consistency. I don't know what the fuck happened to Vince Morales. He got cut from the UFC and became a submission wizard. I don't know where this came from. I don't think he had any submissions in the UFC. But after he got cut, he went out there and got a Darce choke in round one. He went out there and got a knockout and a decision win, but then another Darce choke in round two, and then a Peruvian necktie in his last fight against Hunter Azure. He's actually a pretty decent fighter in round three. So I don't know when he started pulling off Darces and Peruvian neckties because that was not in his bag when he was in the UFC, but apparently it is now. He was he was very frustrating in his first stint in the UFC because he's someone that had a wrestling background that refused to use it. All he would do is strike. He was an okay striker, but his strength was wrestling, and he refused to use it. Instead, he wanted to stand with Benito Lopez. He wanted to stand with Chris Gutierrez and get leg kicked to death. He wanted to stand with Jonathan Martinez. Like, these guys are strikers. Why are you standing with strikers? Please take them down. And he refused to. And then Benito Lopez out grappled him, and so did Miles Johns. So, like, there's nothing he can do there. But he stood with Song Yadong. Like, what are you doing? If you don't just go out there and and take down these strikers, it makes zero sense. He was very frustrating. Again, his striking's not bad, but his wrestling's good, and apparently his jiu-jitsu is very good. I don't know where this came from, but apparently it's nasty. He's fought a good level of competition. I'll give him that. But he is very hittable when he's on the feet, and he refuses to check leg kicks. Chris Gutierrez got a leg kick TKO, and my guy Vince still doesn't check leg kicks. So I don't know what's wrong with him mentally. Um, I don't think he's a terrible fighter. I do think he's UFC caliber, but he's not ready for the hands that Taylor Lapillus is about to lay on him. Taylor's the better striker. Taylor is very tough to take down, and I think Vince is going to run into the same song and dance that he was running into in his first stint, striking with a striker and losing. So the pick is going to be Taylor Lapillus. The bet's going to be Taylor Lapillus. Minus 355 is fully justified. Should be higher. Next fight of the night, we have Ludovic Klein at minus 1100, not justified. Roosevelt Roberts plus 700, over under set at 2.5, over 2.5 plus 135, under 2.5 at minus 175. Let's just start with the huge favorite. Ludovic Klein's 29 years old, has world class striking and the craziest head kick you'll see in MMA. It's very quick, it's very snappy, it's very powerful, has a ton of head kick knockouts in his career. Carries a ton of power in his hands too. Dude's just a powerful guy in general. Not a terrible wrestler. He will sprinkle in a takedown or two, and he's pretty good at timing it. Just double legs. That's all he has. But he mixes it in. He's a striker. You don't see it coming, and he has great timing, and he'll take you down. He has 90% takedown defense himself. He's very hard to take down, and he looks great at 155. He was someone that used to struggle to make 145. His performances struggled. We saw him gas out against Nate Landwehr. Was it Nate Landwehr? Oh God. Yeah, and ultimately get choked out in round three. But he has really good fight IQ. He's a very good fighter. And since going up to 155, I don't know if he's lost since. No, he has not lost since going up to 155. And USADA's gone, and he is a known juicer. So is that part of the reason he's looking so good? I don't know. Do I want to bet against the guy that's been on the roids before? Not really. You're going to have to give me a good matchup to want to do so. Since he has good takedown defense and hits like a truck and might be on the gear, who can you give me that's going to make me, kind of fade the juicer? Not Roosevelt Roberts, I'll tell you that. He's 30 years old. He's taking this fight on extremely short notice across the world. Roosevelt Roberts isn't a bad fighter, but he is the definition of a generalist. He's an okay striker. He's an okay jiu-jitsu practitioner. He's an okay wrestler. That's it. Offensively, Defensively, 52% takedown defense, not the greatest. His cardio, he can slow down a little bit, but he doesn't gas out. He's just okay at everything. He doesn't excel in anything. He's not bad at anything. He's just kind of there. His volume, kind of there. It's not good. It's not bad. It's right in the middle. He is the most middle of the road fighter in this weight class. Um, is he UFC caliber? He's right on the cusp. He's 30 years old, so this is the prime Roosevelt we're going to get. He can upset anyone at any point in time, but I don't think he can take down Ludovic Klein. I know he's not the better striker. He's probably the better jiu-jitsu practitioner, but I have no idea how he gets it down there. I don't think he's going to crack Klein. Klein doesn't generally get hurt, so I don't know how he gets it down to the ground. That's his method of victory: submission. That's it. Or he can try to out volume Klein. He can try that, but he's going to get cracked along the way. He doesn't go out there and get knocked out all the time, but he has been knocked out in the past and he has been rocked before. So, yeah, he's not a terrible fighter, but whoever let him take this fight on short notice, bad idea. Bad things are going to happen. Do I trust Klein, who I've seen gas out once at a minus 1100? No. Do I trust Roosevelt's chin to take the over 2.5? Not really. Do I like the under 2.5 at minus 175? Not really. I don't really know how to bet this fight. But gun to my head, I'm going to pick Klein. You can't bet minus 1100, so I'd have to take the under 2.5 and hope Roosevelt catches him in something. Or like maybe he catches him in a guillotine as Klein shoots those random double legs, or maybe Klein just kicks his head off. So the pick is going to be Klein. The bet's going to be the under 2.5. Next fight of the night, we have another French boy and Omar Sy at minus 520 going up against Daun Jung at plus 350. Over under set at 1.5. Over 1.5 minus 150. Under 1.5 at plus 115. Let's start with Omar Sy. He is 10-0, has a 5.5-inch reach advantage in this matchup. Will definitely have the crowd behind him. I believe he's the brother of Sabadu C over in the PFL, and it looks like it because he's a good striker. But we don't see it anymore. He initially used to go out there and strike, and he's another one where you see these wrestlers that always wrestle. They get a knockout, they start falling in love with the knockout and trust their hands all the time. He's the opposite. He's a striker. He noticed that he is really good at doing takedowns, mainly because 205 has zero wrestlers whatsoever. Realize this is an advantage. Realize that he doesn't have to get hit. And then he goes out there and gets a ground and pound or a submission. And now that's all he does. He can strike if need be. He's a good striker. He's very quick. He's very athletic, but he has good wrestling and good jujitsu. So he's taken the path of least resistance a ton. Yeah, man. He's essentially his cardio. I don't know. He gets a lot of early finishes. We're looking at round one in his UFC debut. We're looking at round one before that, round one before that. Again, and um, Alcantara used to be in the UFC. Enrique da Silva used to be in the UFC, and he's going out there and he's finishing these people in 2 minutes. Those are UFC vets, and he did it in 2 minutes. All of these decision before that, good. Two decisions before that. Good to see he could go 15 minutes, but then round one finish, round two, round one. He's only gone to two decisions, but he's undefeated. He's gone the whole 15 minutes, and that's good to see. He kind of reminds me of D1 Diakese. He originally a striker, became a wrestler, but he has much better finishing instinct on the ground, much better jiu-jitsu. He's just a really good fighter and a dangerous fighter, someone to keep an eye out at 205. On the other side, we have Daun Jung, who's 30 years old. He's pretty decent striking. He's just physically slow. He's a big boy, but he's just not quick at all, which is terrible for fighting C. This seems to be a setup fight for the UFC. His schedule, not the greatest. When you go back and really look at it, Carlos Ulberg beat the hell out of him. Nothing you can do there. Carlos Ulberg's okay. Devin Clark's not the greatest fighter, and he got dominated by Devin Clark. Dustin Jacoby knocked him out in 3 minutes. I think Dustin Jacoby's a good fighter, but Dustin Jacoby's not a power puncher, so why are you getting knocked out in 3 minutes? Kennedy Njoku is a very chinny. He knocked out a chinny fighter. William Knight's trash. Sam Alvey's trash. Slow Mike Rodriguez is trash. Khadis Ibrahimov was the worst light heavyweight we've ever seen in the UFC. And then he beat a whole bunch of guys that were, 4-0 and 0-3 and 6-6 and 0-0. Like he's fighting people that are named Hulk. Like that, what is going on here? So he fought a low level competition, came to the UFC, fought the lowest of the low. They finally gave him a decent step up, and he's lost three straight. So yeah, not the greatest look. Again, he's an okay striker. He can wrestle at times. Has a 77% takedown defense. But the only true wrestler he fought was Devin Clark. So 77 is interesting there. He has a pretty decent get up game. But again, Sai is a motherfucker on the ground. So this is a setup fight, clear as day. We don't have to talk a lot about it. It's a setup for Umar C. He's minus 520 for a reason. The pick is going to be him. I don't want to bet him at minus 520, but I do like this under 1.5 being plus money. C is there for a good time, not a long time. So the pick is Umar C. The bet is going to be the under 1.5. Next fight of the night is another one with the under 1.5. We have Ion Kutalaba minus 122 going up against Ivan Arslan at plus 102. Over under set at 1.5. Over 1.5 is plus money at plus 110. Under 1.5 is minus 145. Let's start with Ursuline because he's new to the UFC. This was the first fight that I taped because I knew absolutely nothing about Ivan Ursuline. And honestly, I was kind of impressed. I didn't think he was bad. He has pretty good striking. His wrestling was not bad. It looked like he had pretty decent takedown defense. Dude hits hard. Like you can just see how physically strong this guy is. His jujitsu seems a little questionable, but he's fought a pretty decent level of competition, even on the regional scene. Again, this is his UFC debut. Um, just I'm kind of wiki sorry, I'm just kind of wikipediaing some of these in regards to their records. I don't know how truly good some of these guys are. I didn't watch all of these fights, but I again know who Luis Enrique de Silva is. Was in the UFC, went out there and knocked him out in 3 minutes, so I know that one's a good win. And the records aren't just scrub matches. I know he's over in KSW. That was a good promotion. So he's in good promotions. He's fighting UFC vets, and he's 14-3. Um, good on him. Obviously, you can crack him. He got knocked out in 4 minutes 2 fights ago. But it looks like most of his fights are round one finishes. Round one, round one, round one, round. I don't think. Oh my God. He has never won a fight outside of round one. So gas tank may be an issue, but it doesn't seem to matter if he knocks you out in 3 minutes in every single one of these fights. He has 0 wins outside of round one. They're all round one knockouts. The dude hits hard. And has good takedown defense. That's clear. That's what's the important there. Because he's fighting Ion Kutalaba, who is predominantly a wrestler. He's 30 years old. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. He's 30 years old. Ivan is 32. Um, he is a good wrestler. He has a ton of power. His striking's okay. It's not great. I'd definitely give Ivan the edge there. But he does have a tendency to slow down in his fights. He's fought a good level of competition, fighting Kennedy Njoku, Johnny Walker, Ryan Spann, Glover Teixeira. Even Tanner Boser and Felipe Lenz aren't bad. He has a win over Devin Clark. Magomed Ankalaev, the future champ. Yeah, he's fought the who's who in the UFC. So all credit to him. I forgot he fought Ankalaev twice. He has a win over Khalil Roundtree, who's about to fight for the title. The dude has some quality wins and quality fights in him. He also fought Luis Enrique de Silva. I don't know why it's a requirement to beat that guy to get into the UFC, but he knocked him out in 20 seconds. So yeah, no, his striking's not that good. I thought it was better than it was. A lot of looping stuff. He just hits very hard. Predominantly a wrestler, but he doesn't have the gas tank if he wrestles. He's a good wrestler, but if he takes you down multiple times, it's going to gas him out. So he's been trying to strike, and you can kind of finish him there too. So he's kind of lost. He's stuck in the middle. I think he should be a 185 pounder, and I think that's part of the problem he's running into. I think he had one fight at 185 and then went right back up to 205. I don't know, man. I don't know why he's not fighting at middleweight. I think he would do much better there. And Ivan is massive. If Ivan keeps this on the feet, he's going to knock out Kutalaba. If Kutalaba takes him down, I mean, Ivan has two losses, and one of them is on the ground. So either way, I'm just going to go for a finish here. I did pick and bet Ivan. as a UFC debutant. Mainly because Ian Cutelaba is a little bit of a head case, and I don't think he's going to want to grapple in front of a crowd. I think he's going to want to go out there and strike. He did that with fucking Ankalaev, for God's sake. If he's not scared to go out there and strike with Ankalaev in front of a crowd, why would he be scared of the UFC debutant? And I think Ivan's going to take his head off. And I'm just going to take the under. I know 1.5 is juiced to minus 145, but that's the safest bet. Now that Ivan's no longer a dog, it's a pick 'em. So the pick is going to be Ivan, but the bet's going to be the under 1.5. Next fight of the night, we have Faraz Ziam, the hometown guy, at minus 125, going up against the Matt, the steamroller Fravola. And Matt is plus 105. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 135. Under 2.5 plus 105. Let's start with the hometown guy and Faraz Ziam. This is another guy who has a second stint in the UFC. He's going to have the crowd behind him. He is the French fighter here. He's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage. And he's a very good striker, very technical Muay Thai striker. All good qualities. His takedown defense was ass. It looked very good in the Mike Figlak fight for no fucking reason, because it looked absolutely atrocious in his next fight against Claudio Puelles. So I don't know what that was about. He has been chin checked multiple times. I don't think he's gone knocked out yet. He has not. You choke him out. His submission defense is god awful. He's very low volume when he's on the feet, and I have seen him look good cardio wise, and I've seen him slow down cardio wise. So I don't know how good his cardio is. It seems to be pretty 50-50. Yeah, man, he's just a tall, lanky striker. He had good takedown defense for 2 of his fights in his career, but we saw Don Madge take advantage and take him down multiple times. Jimmy Malarkey took him down multiple times. He looked good. Had good takedown defense against Luigi Venturini for some reason. Terrence McKinney took him down with ease. Mike Figlak could not get him down. He brought his singlet. Jai Herbert, it was really just a striking affair. And then Claudio, who's a god awful wrestler, took him down like 6 times. So I don't know why he's so inconsistent with his wrestling, but he better come prepared this fight, because Matt Fravola is, I love fading Matt Fravola because I think he has one of the worst chins in the UFC. But overall, fight wise, he's not a bad fighter. He's better than I want to give him credit for. He's 34 years old. It's not that I have a problem with Matt Fravola. I just hate this picture for some reason. It pisses me off. He trades with Aljo and Nazim Sadikov and Marab, the champ. That's kind of his crew. He's 34 years old. He has good striking, but it's mainly his power. The dude hits hard. He can knock out anyone at any time. His jujitsu is not great, but it's not bad. It's okay. His cardio is not great. It's not bad. It's okay. His wrestling, sneaky good. And when he seems to fight these tall, lanky guys, he does seem to utilize the takedown. We saw him fight Benoit Saint-Denis, who was bigger than him, took him down 2 times. We saw him fight Drew Dober and just knocked him out. We saw him fight Azatar. He knocked him out. We saw him fight Valdez. He knocked him out. We saw him fight McKinney, and he got knocked out in 7 seconds. But before that, he fought Arman Sarukian, who just kept taking him down. He didn't get a chance. But Luis Pena is a tall, lanky striker, and he kept taking him down. Jalen Turner is a tall, lanky striker. He kept taking him down, and he won decisions in both of those by wrestling. Now, I've seen him get more tired by wrestling. Maybe that's why he stopped doing it. But again, he wrestles when he should. Benoit Saint-Denis does not have good takedown defense, so he does bust it out at the right times there. And he was actually winning that St. Denis fight until he got cracked. Why did he get cracked? He's chinny. Got knocked out by St. Denis, got knocked out by Terrence McKinney, got knocked out by Polo Reyes, got chin checked by Jalen Turner, got chin checked by Luis Pena. He's wobbled all the fucking time. Gennaro Valdez chin checked him. Drew Dober chin checked him. Like, although he won 2 of these fights, he was on wobbly legs twice. So, yeah, he has a little bit of a chin issue. Luckily, Ziam doesn't have a ton of power. He can knee you hard. He's a good Muay Thai fighter, but he doesn't punch particularly hard. And that's why I think Fravola hits harder. Fravola's the better wrestler. Fravola's the way to bet here. The pick is going to be Matt Fravola. The bet's going to be Matt Fravola as an upset in France. Next fight of the night. We have the one I'm most confident in, and this one of them Vegas is also most confident in. We have Morgan Charrier at -750 going up against Gabriel Miranda at +525. Over under set at 1.5. Over 1.5 -150. Under 1.5 at +115. Let's start with the hometown guy and Morgan Charrier. He is good, man. I think he's very good. He's gonna have the crowd behind him. He's 28 years old. He's 19-10, but he's fought some good competition on the regional scene. He's not ducking anyone. Um, he has good striking. He has good jujitsu. He has good wrestling. He has good cardio. He has 87% takedown defense. What is there not to like about this guy? His volume. I wish he fucking threw more. If he threw more, this dude this dude could potentially only have like 2 or 3 losses, but he has 10 because of his fucking volume. Like he lost the Chepe Mariscal fight in a split decision because of his volume. He lost the Paul Hughes fight majority decision because of his volume. He lost to Jordan Vicinich, who's also in the UFC, because of his volume. Like how many split and majority decision? Like let's take a look. His loss split. His next loss, or sorry, his loss before that majority. His loss before that split. He's lost before that majority. Here we have a split draw. His loss before that majority. His loss before that was unanimous. I'll give that. Then before that unanimous. So literally all of his fights are close. Every single one of his losses are very, very, very close and could have gone the other way. This guy could potentially have 2 to 3 losses instead of 10. Like he's so good. Just throw more, Morgan. What are you doing? But his last fight in France, he came out juiced. He was fucking jazzed to the tits and went out there striking and got a quick knockout. I'm hoping that the French crowd makes him throw. On the other side, we had Gabriel Miranda, who is a very, very good jiu-jitsu practitioner. That's all. He's not a good wrestler. He's 34 years old. He has a 2-inch reach advantage. That's nice, but he can't strike, so it doesn't really help him. He's very chinny. Has god awful cardio. He's not very UFC caliber. To be honest, this is another squash match, and that's the reason Morgan is a -750 favorite. So the pick is going to be Morgan. Can't bet Morgan at -750. I'll probably flirt with that under. And Gabriel could catch him in a sub. Gabriel's that good on the ground. But if Morgan touches him, he just folds. And he doesn't have more than a round and a half of cardio anyway. So the pick is going to be Morgan. The bet's going to be the under 1.5. Next fight of the night. I hate both these guys, so I hope it's a draw or a double knockout. We have Kevin Doucette at +150 going up against Brian Battle at -180. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 -220. Under 2.5 at +165. Let's start with Kevin Doucette. He's the hometown guy here. He trains at City Kickboxing in Australia, but he is originally from France, so he will have the crowd behind him. He's 31 years old, and he is the stiffest fighter I've ever seen in my fucking life. He stands so straight up, it's uncomfortable. Just very stiff and rigid. 31 years old, high volume though. But all he throws are jab and leg kicks. That's it. Jabs and leg kicks. Jabs and leg kicks. Uh, yeah, man. Uh, he is okay wrestling. Apparently, has a judo black belt in his back pocket, but he doesn't really wrestle because he's too busy hitting you at jabs and leg kicks. He does have good cardio because he's not throwing any power punches. He's just throwing jabs and leg kicks. His jiu-jitsu is not terrible, especially being a judo guy. They usually incorporate some of jiu-jitsu in there. But you don't really usually see it because he's too busy giving jabs and leg kicks. Level of competition is not very good, and his power is non-existent. He is the point fighter through and through, and he will jab and leg kick you to death. Throws a ton of volume doing it, but that's about all he's got. On the other side, we have Brian Battle, who's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage, and that's interesting to me because again, all Kevin does are jabs and leg kicks. It's going to be very hard to jab someone that has a reach on you, where they can hit you, where you can't hit them. He's also 10-2. He has good striking. He has good jujitsu. Where he struggles is his wrestling. He's rocking a 47% takedown defense, and that's not just because he fought Renat Fakhretdinov. AJ Fletcher took him down. Gabe Green did not. He knocked him out in a few seconds. Takashi Sato, he got knocked out in a few seconds. Trayshawn Gore took him down. Gilbert Urbina took him down. On the regional scene, he was taken down. And the Ultimate Fighter, he was taken down. Dude's takedown defense is just trash. Um, It's bad. It's very, 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 very bad. He has good volume though, and he hits decently hard. Um, I don't know, man. You have two tall, lanky guys. I will say Battle hits harder, but Giuseppe throws a little bit more and will have the crowd behind him. Would not be surprised if this one goes to a split. If Giuseppe puts on a singlet, that could definitely help him steal some pounds. But I don't think he's going to do that. He should. Battle is 47% takedown defense, but I don't think he will. I think he's just gonna leg kick him to death, and Battle's gonna try to land some power shots. And I think this is a close fight. I wouldn't be surprised if this went to a split decision, but I'm not gonna pick a winner here. I'm just gonna go ahead and bet the over. The pick is gonna be Brian Battle, but the bet's just gonna be the over 2.5 at -220. Just gonna eat some chalk there. Next fight of the night. We have honestly another one of my favorite fighters for no reason right now. We have Joe Anderson Brito at -285. Going up against the Frenchman William Gomi at +230. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 is -125. Under 2.5 at -105. Let's start with the Frenchman and William Gomi. William Gomi sucks. All right. He's 27 years old and he's fast as fuck. That's it. He's not a good wrestler. He'll try to utilize it in certain matchups. We saw him take down Jarno Aarons, but we came to find out Jarno Aarons has like a 17% takedown defense. I could take down Jarno Aarons, so not really impressive there. His striking, he's very, very fast, but he doesn't have a ton of power. His jiu-jitsu is awful. His level of competition's not good. His volume is the worst part of his game. He doesn't fucking throw. And very bad visuals when he gets hit. The thing is, it's hard to hit him. He just jabs you and dances around and circles around the octagon and essentially runs away. And you have to chase him. And he's so fucking fast that he just runs from you and runs from you. You try to cut off the cage and he'll pop you with a jab and keep running. And he'll do that for 15 straight minutes. He's so fucking hard to hit. And then he'll just try to mix in a takedown to keep you honest and then jab you on the way out and keep running. It's the most annoying fight style. People talk about Taylor Lapilus. Fuck William Gobi. I hate watching him fight, but he is long overdue to get knocked out. Again, he has gotten hit and it looks very bad. But I saw a few times Morgan Charrier, who we talked about, was able to track him down and take him down. And when he did, he just submitted him. So it doesn't look like he can take a punch. We know his jiu-jitsu is not good. So you just got to find this guy. He's so fucking hard to find because I will give him, he might be the quickest guy in the weight class. He might be the quickest featherweight I've ever seen. He's fast as fuck. On the other side, we have Joe Anderson Brito, who hits hard as fuck. He's good everywhere, man. He's a good striker. He's 29 years old in his prime. He has good jiu-jitsu. He has good wrestling. He has a good level of competition. I mean, this dude has literally fought Jack Shore, who's a beast, JSP, who's a beast, and submitted him. Wesson Wilson, not so much without short notice. Lucas Alexander's not bad, but that was also short notice. Andre Feely's a beast. Bill Algeo, he lost, and I'll tell you why in a sec. He beat everyone's darling right now in Diego Lopez. Beat Diego Lopez. Beat the other darling right now. Knocked out Chepe Mariscal, which I didn't think was physically possible. Like, this dude had good. He fought Chepe and Diego Lopez before even making it to the UFC. Now, the reason he has losses, cardio. That power comes with a price. Do I think Joe Anderson is one of the hardest punchers in the weight class? Absolutely. Is he a gifted athlete? Absolutely. Is he skilled everywhere? Absolutely. Can he get gassed out doing everything? Absolutely. Cardio is an issue, and that's the only way to beat him. He also has 62% takedown defense, but that's because Bill Algeo took him down 3 times in the third round when he was exhausted. And he fought JSP, who's a very, very, very good wrestler, but he ultimately choked out JSP. So, again, he's a Brazilian Jiu Jitsu black belt with one hit knockout power and can wrestle. Like, that's a scary combo. If this guy could figure out his cardio issue, this dude could be top 5 in the world. But until he figures it out, he's going to run into some issues. But again, William Gomi is not a power puncher. William Gomi isn't the greatest wrestler in the world. All he has to do is find Gomi, and if he connects, he's putting him out. If he wants to just grab a hold of him and submit him, like Morgan Charrier did, that's another route. Just Brito has a lot more ways to win this fight. So the pick is going to be Brito, the bet's going to be Brito, and I hope that it's a bad night for France with William Gomi. He annoys me. Next fight of the night is a co-main event of the evening. We have Nazardine Imavov at minus 220 going up against Brendan All-In Allen at plus 180. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 150. Under 2.5 plus 115. Let's start with Nazardine Imavov. Speaking of UFC Kentucky, getting a big win over Jared Cannonier, albeit a quick stoppage. He's going to have the crowd behind him. He has very quick hands. I didn't notice how fast this dude is with his combinations. He's a very good striker. Good striking. He has good jiu-jitsu. His wrestling's hit or miss. 74% takedown defense, but he does have decent offensive wrestling. Don't forget, although he's from France, he is Dagestani. So it rears its head offensively. Defensively, he's French. Offensively wrestling, he's Russian. So he seems to like to interchange those. There was a lot more volume than I thought too. Hits decently hard. I thought he was a gasser. He's not. He slows down in his fights for certain, but he can go 15 minutes. He's fought a good level of competition. He's a good fighter. He's very, very good. He's 14-4 for a reason. He's ranked in the weight class for a reason. Thing that scares me with him is his eye pokes. He eye pokes everybody. He eye poked Cannonier. He famously eye poked Chris Curtis. He eye poked Roman Dolidze. They always tell him be careful with his hands, and he just keeps jabbing you forward. He eye pokes everyone, and people call him a dirty fighter. I don't think he's dirty. But I do think he's hard headed. Like, stop eye poking everyone. What the fuck are you doing? But all in all, I was very impressed with Imavov. I think he's a very good fighter. I expected to bet Imavov. It's all good fight tape, man. Brendan Allen, he has a chance. Brendan Allen's 28 years old. Brian Battle. He himself is a good striker. Very good jujitsu. If this thing hits the mat, not even close. Brendan Allen is the better jujitsu practitioner. His wrestling, I thought was bad. It's not terrible. He took down Chris Curtis a few times as well. Chris Curtis is not easy to take down. 6 takedowns over Chris Curtis is impressive. He has terrible takedown defense, 58% takedown defense, but Imavov isn't going to take him down because he knows that he wants to strike, Allen wants to grapple. But Allen can strike too. The problem I have with Allen is his chin. He's chinny. I don't care what anyone says. He's been knocked out by Chris Curtis, who's a welterweight. I saw him get rocked by Chris Curtis again in the rematch. We saw him get rocked by Bruno Silva momentarily. He got rocked by Sam Alvey. He gets rocked all the fucking time. He got knocked out by Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland has zero power whatsoever. Yeah, dude can get cracked and put out. So it's very concerning with his chin. You can back him up. He's a good striker, but he'd much prefer to be on the ground. I would definitely choose him if he was a better wrestler. But Imavov 74%. That's a weird number. If he gets Imavov's back, he could very well finish this. If he stands with Imavov, it's not as far off as I thought, but Imavov could probably knock him out. So that's going to make me lean dog or pass with the line, but I don't think I'm going to touch that. I'm going to pick Nazardine Imavov. The under 2.5 is plus money. Imavov could knock him out. Allen could get a submission. Let's just play it safe and hit it on both ends. So the pick is going to be Imavov, but the bet is going to be the under 2.5. And that takes us to the main event of the evening. If you haven't already, what the hell are you doing? Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that like button. Share this video and help other people make money. We have Renato Money Moicano plus 220. Going up against Benoit Saint-Denis at minus 270. Over under set at 1.5 in a main event. Over 1.5 minus 155. Sorry, over 1.5 minus 155, under 1.5 plus 120. Let's start with the Frenchman and Benoit Saint Denis. I am the only one that is against Benoit Saint Denis and have been for a while. I don't think he's that good. He's earned my respect along the way. He's better than I thought he was, but I seem to know what the issue is. He's 28 years old. He'll clearly have the crowd behind him. They will be hype. His striking's okay. His jiu-jitsu's pretty good. His wrestling's okay offensively. Defensively, not the greatest. Throws a ton of volume, has good IQ. He takes down people that have bad takedown defense, like Dustin Poirier. He strikes with people like Gabriel Miranda, who have bad striking. So he has pretty decent IQ. The thing I don't like about Benoit Saint Denis is the fact that he started in 2019. That's when he started his MMA career. He was in the army for France. Again, they love this guy. In all respect to him, I don't dislike him personally, but I think what it is that we saw him in the octagon in like what 2022 is when he made his debut. Uh, where is it here? He made his debut against Alexis Sakes in 2021. So he was only doing MMA for 2 years at that point, and he looked green to me. He didn't look that good because he's only been doing it for 2 years. They gave him Zaleski, who basically almost killed the man. Then they gave him Nicholas Stolze, who's not a good fighter. And he went out there and submitted him in round two. Nicholas Stolze is not good. He had 0 wins in the UFC. Gabriel Miranda, we just talked about, took that fight on short notice up a weight class in France. He wasn't supposed to be there. He went out there and he handled it accordingly. But Gabriel Miranda is not a good fighter in his weight class. Why is he going up a weight class? Ismail Bonfim is a pretty decent fighter, but he had his arm broken in round one. I understand that Benoit broke it, so I can't hold that against Benoit, but he did beat on a one arm fighter for about 4 minutes. Thiago Moises is a good fighter. That's a good win, but he's very chinny, and he chin checked the chinny fighter. Matt Frivola is a really good fighter. That's a good win, but he's very chinny. Dustin Poirier is a good fighter. BSD and staff, they're saying. And that's the reason he was susceptible to getting knocked out. But Dustin rocked him and knocked him out. I saw him get rocked by Matt Frivola. I saw him get rocked by Thiago Moises. I saw him get rocked by Gabriel Miranda, of all people. Stumbled him real quick in that first 30-second exchange. So Benoit Saint-Denis is someone that I labeled as possibly having a suspect chin and possibly having a suspect gas tank because the dude is aggressive. The dude is relentless. The dude is in your face with forward pressure, swinging nonstop. Can he do that for 25 minutes? I don't think so. He gassed out in the Zaleski fight. What makes you think he can do it for 25 minutes? He could do it for 15. But the thing is, he's going out there getting all these round one and round two finishes. He has he has a round three win in his second ever career fight on the regional scene. Outside of that, he has no wins outside of round two. It's very, very early finishes, and he can slow down a little bit in this fight. And what happens when he fights someone that's a better wrestler? Matt Frivola took him down 2 times. That fight lasted 1 minute and 30 seconds, and Matt Frivola was throwing him around the octagon. Like, how do you get tossed around 2 times in a minute span? So I don't know. I have questions about his chin. I have questions about his gas tank. I have questions about his takedown defense. On the other side, we have Money Moicano. Money Moicano is also someone I have questions about, to be honest with you. Money Moicano is 35 years old. I don't like that at all. That is start of the decline. He does have good striking. He has great jujitsu. He has pretty decent wrestling. He has better wrestling than I thought. Okay. He's fought a good level of competition. He's fought the who's who, multiple champions, multiple title challengers. His cardio, it's looked good and it's looked bad. So, I mean, he can fight while tired, though. He throws a pretty decent volume. He has pretty good IQ himself. He takes down strikers. He strikes with grapplers. Um, he trains at ATT with Dustin Poirier with Thiago Moises. So ATT has fought Benoit Saint-Denis in his last 3 fights. Like all he does is fight ATT fighters, which is interesting. He throws pretty good volume. My problem with Money Moicano is his chin. He's very, very chinny. We just talked about BSD's not that great, but he hits hard and he keeps knocking out all these chinny fighters. Well, he's getting another one, a 35-year-old chinny fighter. Money Moicano also used to fight at 145. BSD used to fight at 170. They're meeting in the middle at 155. BSD is going to be the much larger man. He's going to be the much stronger man. Moicano is head and shoulders the better fighter. But at the end of the day, BSD, they're giving him another chinny fighter, and he does what he's supposed to do with them. Yeah, man, I just don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go BSD. It kills me. I don't like betting BSD. What I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna see with it being over under at 1.5. I'm not betting it. I'm gonna pick BSD, um, and then I will live bet Moicano if he's still alive to start round three. I need him to make it 2 rounds, and then I'll bet Moicano. And I think that's the approach I'm going to take. So The pick is going to be BSD. I'll probably have BSD and some parlays, and I might just hedge with Moicano. And I'm also going to keep a eye on that live line. If it's something crazy after the first 2 rounds, BSD can get chin checked. BSD can get submitted. BSD can gas out. So pick is Benoit Saint-Denis. The bet is going to be to hedge or to live bet Moicano. And then the UFC Paris. It's going to be a fun card. Again, 14 fights, starts at noon. Make sure you're ready. Make sure you're up. Make sure you gave this pod a listen. Make sure you place your bets. Make sure you make some money. Let's get it.